When I look in the mirror, I see a face that's deformed.
10 plastic surgeries and an artificial jaw could not restore Kamal Dhillon's shattered face.
He would hit me minimum of 3 to 4, 5 times a week. I don't have any nerves left in my face. I don't feel my face. There are times when my pain exceeds 10, when I just don't have pain in my jaw. I have it in my temples, migraines, back.
Kamal grew up in a middle-class Indian household. She had dreams of the man she would marry one day. But the reality was, at 18, her parents chose her future husband, a man who came from a wealthy and influential family.
As a teenager, that was my dream, was to have a man who loved me, who would honor me and spoil me.
It didn't happen. On her wedding night, she found out what her new husband was really like.
He grabbed me, ripped my clothes off, and pushed me in a corner and raped me. And everything in me died the day that I thought I was going to have a new life.
After the wedding, her in-laws gave her a set of rules about how she was to treat her husband.
Whatever happens in this marriage stays in this home. You are to respect and honor your husband as if he was your God. So now I had another God.
In the years that followed, Kamal and her husband had 4 children. But the abuse continued.
He electrocuted me with an arc welder. He tried to take out my right eye, saying I see too much. And he broke my jaw repeatedly.
Her own family knew about the abuse, but abandoned her because they thought she was cursed. She had no one to help her, and she wanted to leave, but there was only one reason she stayed.
The fear of him killing my family, fear of him maybe even killing my children, kept me.
One night, Kamal's husband tried to drown her in the ocean. She escaped, but she knew it wouldn't be long before he killed her. She fled to Vancouver, where they had a second home. She vowed to return to India for her children.
I came to a place where I was going to stay on this earth for as long as he kept me alive, just because of my children.
At the airport, a kind woman saw Kamal's tears and began sharing words of comfort.
Very gently, she said to me, I'm just here to tell you that Jesus loves you. And the moment she said that, she got my attention, because the anger in me just rose. And I said, really? Jesus, the man? He loves me? That's why he allowed me to go through all this. She said, you know, Jesus is a God who can hear you, who will talk to you, who will have a relationship with you. So I asked that you write to him, you talk to him, because he's got a plan. So she led me to pray.
When Kamal's plane landed, her husband was waiting for her with their 2 oldest children. He promised if she went with him, he would bring the younger 2 kids back to Canada. She agreed. At their home in Vancouver, his rage was uncontrollable. He forced their children to watch him abuse their mother. Kamal's oldest daughter, Amy, remembers.
My dad was super drunk and angry. He told us that he was going to rape my mom. He told us that he was going to tie her hands behind her back. He told us that he would shave her head. And he did. He stripped her down, and he had her sitting on the floor for hours. The most prominent thought in my life was, why doesn't she just die? Because this would all end. It'd be over. I don't have to see this anymore, and she doesn't have to go through it.
After this brutal attack, Kamal escaped with her children to a Christian women's shelter. Her husband was later arrested. That's when she examined her life.
I had made myself numb, and now I could feel pain, physical, emotional, all sorts of pain. All of a sudden I was feeling. And the more I felt, the more angrier and bitter I got, to the point where I hated him. I wanted vengeance.
She prayed and asked God many questions.
Why would you allow this? When will I get my kids? Will you even let me see my kids? Will you do this for me? You're a loving God. Could you prove yourself?
2 years later, by a miraculous turn of events, Kamal and all 4 of her children were finally reunited.
It was like a dream. We were free. We were in the land that we were promised. Now I had all 4 kids.
A year later, Kamal found out her husband had been killed. When she and her children attended his funeral, she says God spoke to her about forgiving her husband.
I heard a voice so loud and clear. Would you forgive him? Vengeance is mine, says the Lord. And I thought, God, you've seen me through so much. And yes, I will forgive him. I will let him go.
Today, Kamal takes the message of her miraculous survival to thousands. She has written about her amazing journey of healing in her book called Black and Blue Sorry. She and her children know there is freedom when you allow God to turn your hopeless situation around. She knows He can give you a meaningful life.
All those years that we lost, He restored. He put smiles back on our faces and joy in our hearts. So I know that with God, nothing is impossible.
My scars don't define who I am. God defines who I am. And He still calls me beautiful. God did amazing things. He gave me my life back. He gave me my children back. He gave me a voice. And He made me a light in the dark world. And these days, that's what I do. I live for Him.